John came up, we started taking it more seriously. There was always a spirit within the band. Yeah, there was quite a good demarcation between who did what. I was the more poppy kind of element guy, but I didn't want to be like kind of Justin Bieber or something like that. I wanted like to be like the Who or the Kinks or something like that. Sort of as a starting place. Steve and Paul were the Fred, I like them, but they were like the Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. They were like a double act kind of thing. And then it was John, and it wasn't like a full-pitch band, it was almost, Steve and Paul were kind of as thick as thieves. It was like a triumvirate, it worked. It was a very good, and that's when all the songs were written.
So then you came up with the first singles. The first single you did with the Pistols, that was
Anything UK?
yes, and that was produced. Is that Wessex Studios, or where did you record this?
Well, it started off being recorded at a place called Lansdowne with our sound engineer, but it wasn't coming out right, so we kind of went on strike and started again and did it with a guy called Chris Thomas.
Chris Thomas is that?
Who also suggested, But again,
Who worked for Roxy?
well, he worked for Roxy and he'd done stuff with
Many others.
the Beatles. He was involved with the Beatles, believe it or not, and he'd done stuff with Procol Harum and things like that. But he knew us because of another connection. One of the other people who come into the shop to buy their sisters' clothes was a guy called Chris Bennett, who was like the go-to session guitarist at the time. And when everybody had long hair, he had like a quiff and leather trousers on and stuff. And he'd actually taken Chris Thomas to see us at the Honey Club. We didn't know that at the time, we only found out afterwards. So everybody was interconnected all the time because we was in the
So what would you
place.
know Chris Bennett for? You would know him as a session guitar player?
I measured him up for
Yeah.
Drag Jacket.
Because this is before his own songs. Or before Motor Viking, he had a big song, by then.
Well, around about the time he'd had that, he used to be a session guitarist for Mickey Mouse. But also, I do remember, and he would come in and buy like a leather biker's cap. Malcolm then got TV. We had a TV and a shop for it, and we all sat around and watched Chris Baden on Top of the Pops live in the Wombles with his leather biker's cap on.
He still denies it.
Pardon?
He still denies it.
Yeah.
It wasn't him in there.
Well, I don't know. I spoke to Chris about it. I said, "What's it like being a Womble?" And he said, "You know what you're doing on Top of the Pops? And you got this big furry thing on." He said, "All these young girls come up to you." He said, "All sorts could have been."
But he had another thing on Top of the Pops with Motor Viking when he was
But that's as well.
fully
And then the first of May,
probably from your shop.
Probably from the shop.
Yes.
But other people would come in as well. Other bands would come in the store. And I remember selling in the week, so when I worked there, and I was there by myself a lot of the time, I saw Ian Hunter came in with Matt Ronson. And they bought some things, and there was a pair of pink leather 50s style loafer shoes that Mick wanted. And it turned out he had really small feet. He had like size 6 feet. So I'm getting all these boxes down. Finally found a pair, and I'm wrapping them up. And there's this rattling going on. What's going on? Look round, on the step ladder is Mick Ronson on the top of the step ladder putting all the boxes back. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm putting all the boxes back for you." I said, "You don't have to, it's Mick Ronson." I think. And not long after that, maybe a year after that, I went to see that movie, Ronaldo and Clara. The Bob Dylan movie, which was on the Rolling Thunder tour.
Yes.
Terrible movie, it's about 4 hours long. I went out, had a pint, watched some people miming, when the buses turned around in Camden, all the bus crews got up and sang a number. I went with this girl, I went to shoot a rock, and then we went back to the cinema, because there was still 2 more hours of this film to go. Got back just in time for Mick Ronson playing a security guard with the pink loafers on that I sold him in the shop. It was fantastic. And then other people were coming, and this is a funny story, and I think you know this band in Germany, the door opened one day, sort of midwinter, 5 guys coming, overcoats, one little guy in the middle with sort of National Health Service cheap spectacles on. And I started serving them. Day glow socks, ruffle cream, right? And then all of a sudden the door bursts open and Malcolm comes in with a delivery. You know, it's like November, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's got dark. And he's got a box of stuff, a couple of cardboard boxes piled up. There's Glent out the back. I said, what? He said, out the back. I said, what? He said, who's these people? I said, what people? I said, what the people you said? He said, get them out. I said, well, why? He said, get them out. I said, you can't throw them out, they're a band. He said, what band? The sensational Alex Harvey band. Right? Never heard of them. Get them out. Who do you think they are? He said, they're tax inspectors. I said, they're what? He said, they're tax inspectors. Now, in fairness to Malcolm, Alex Harvey wasn't that big. He's got these kind of glasses on him. His hair slicked back, you know, which back then when people still had short, long hair, he looked kind of maybe a bit straight but weird. And the other guys in the band were bigger, and they could have looked like his henchmen, right? So, I said to them, look, my mate's had a bit of a brainstorm. The pub's just about to open. I'll keep all your stuff here. It'll be gone. Go and have a pint, come back to the road up, right? And I served it, which is what they did. Right. But about a week later, and I knew the Alex Harvey band because I'd gone to see them, I loved them. They was one of the first sort of bands before punk that were a bit different and were interesting. But maybe a week or 2 later on, they'd had a hit with Delilah. And they were playing the Hammersmith Odeon. So I went with Malcolm, Bernard Rhodes, and my mate from art college, Nick Cash, and we took Malcolm and Bernard there to prove to Malcolm that the sensational Alex Harvey band weren't tax collectors. Because Malcolm shot everything was cash. So as we're sitting there, the band comes on, the lights come on. He said, how many people there? And this is before Malcolm was really managing the band. I said, I don't know, I think I was about 2,500 people. He said, how much was it to get in again? 75 pence a ticket or something like that back then. You know, not quite a pound. And he said, let's have a meeting about the band. Because he realised there was money. And that, to that stage, he knew nothing about modern music. Everything he liked was like, sort of 50s this, 60s that, maybe a bit of kind of bebop jazz. There was one album that he listened to, which was a really good album by Art Blakey and his Jazz Messengers, which is, he'd done the soundtrack for a movie called Les Liaisons Dangereuses, which was supposed to be the beatnik movie.